I'm Wayne McSally, and I'm President and CEO of the Humane Society of the United States. And this is a press conference about the takedown of U.S. Department of Agriculture inspection reports for puppy mills, research facilities, roadside zoos, and other regulated facilities, and also violation notices under the Horse Protection Act. Thousands of documents have been taken down. They were for years in a searchable database where the public, the press, advocacy organizations, industry could access information about how our tax dollars were used to inspect facilities using animals. These records were instrumental in some chronic violators of the Animal Welfare Act being driven out of business. And today we've got a number of our leaders in Congress, the advocacy world, and the entertainment world who are here. Congressman Blumenauer is heading off to a vote, and Congresswoman McSally is heading off to a vote. So I'm going to start with them, and then we'll introduce Kate and then Randy. But I want to start with Congressman Blumenauer to start. He's the co-chair of the Animal Protection Caucus. He leads it with Congressman Vern Buchanan of Florida. It's a bipartisan caucus. And Congressman Blumenauer is leading on a raft of animal welfare legislation. Following him is Congresswoman Martha McSally, a Republican from Arizona, an Air Force colonel who is a very devoted animal advocate. She and Congressman Blumenauer led the letter to USDA urging the restoration of these documents on the searchable database. Just yesterday, she introduced the Humane Cosmetics Act to end cosmetic testing on animals. So I'll turn it over to Congressman Blumenauer and then to Congressman McSally.
Thank you, Wayne. Thanks for the leadership of the Humane Society, Congresswoman McSally, Kate. I mean, a real star here. People wouldn't show up just to listen to members of Congress. But we'll take help anywhere we can get it. It is outrageous that fundamental information that has been collected at taxpayer expense is no longer going to be widely available. You'll have to fight through the Freedom of Information Act. The bottom line is that there are still people out there, despite the best efforts of the Humane Society and animal welfare advocates, that are still cheating, abusing, and cutting corners. And having this information has been essential to be able to hold people accountable. And it's not just those who cheat, abuse, or cut corners. It's also accountability for the federal government itself. Because sadly, the USDA hasn't always been as aggressive as it should be in its responsibility for animal welfare. So it's a two-way accountability for the public, for the people who are involved with the business, and the federal government that should be protecting the animals. So I am pleased to join with two other stars here to be able to insist that the public get access to this again, and that we not have any more of this hide-the-ball trick. The public and animals deserve better.
Thanks, my friend, and it has been an honor to partner with you on this issue. And Kate, thanks for coming. It's great, Wayne. It's always great to partner with you. I was shocked, honestly, when I saw this information come down. We sprung into action right away. We sent a letter of over 100 members of Congress to the USDA saying, put this information back up. This makes sense for so many reasons. It's for accountability and transparency. For those that are violating, it needs to be known to the public. It needs to be known to consumers so that they can make choices. They need to be held accountable in compliance with the Animal Welfare Act and the Horse Protection Act. It's also important, there's some states that have passed laws that says companies can only do business if they've got a clean record with these inspection reports. So how are they supposed to comply with their own laws anymore if they don't have this information? So this is a common sense thing to do, and we're calling on Secretary Perdue to today put these records back up. They put some of them back up, but it's not enough. We shouldn't have people having to go through a very cumbersome process to get access to this vital information. Again, it's common sense for accountability, transparency, consumer choice, and by the way, for those facilities that are complying. It's helpful for them and the public to know, and others to know, that they're in compliance with these laws. So this is the right thing to do for protection of animals and to stop the inhumane and cruel treatment of them, and the right thing to do for taxpayers. And I'm honored to be here. We're going to continue to be calling on the USDA to make this change happen and release these records.
Thank you. Fabulous. You know, I think it's a great point that Congresswoman McSally makes about state laws grounded on clean records from USDA. The licensed breeders, how are these states going to enforce these laws? I mean, they're eviscerated now because these documents have been taken down. And the Freedom of Information Act requests, which are the alternatives, sometimes take a year or two, and the volume of them is going to overwhelm the agency. So it's just not a viable alternative. I'm going to ask Kate to speak next, but I want to also mention that Randy Painter from CARE 2 is going to join us. He has assembled with CARE 2 more than 100,000 signers of petitions that we're going to be delivering here today to Secretary Perdue to remind him that this is so important. And remember, Secretary Perdue was not acting secretary. He wasn't secretary when these documents were taken down. So this was not his doing, but he certainly has an opportunity to be the hero for animal welfare by restoring these documents. So Randy's going to help us with that. But of course, we're all so excited to have Kate here. Kate, we are so lucky to have you as a spokesperson for the Humane Society of the U.S. Thank you so much for everything. She has a new movie coming out on Friday, Megan Levy, that talks about the bond between a soldier and her service animal, a working animal. And that is such a big theme of our work at the Humane Society, is that bond. Of course, she's also known a great deal in this town because of House of Cards. And I think for today's purposes, you know, she was the invisible woman in Fantastic Four, and this is about visibility. And these documents have been made invisible, so I don't think there's anyone better to talk about the importance of visibility than Kate Mara. Kate, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
That was such a nice introduction. I really appreciate it. I feel incredibly honored and proud and very happy to be here today with my friends from the Humane Society of the United States and the Humane Society Legislative Fund, and of course with CARE 2. Like Wayne said, we are here to urge the USDA to restore animal welfare records to the agency's website. In February, when the USDA abruptly purged all records pertaining to the Animal Welfare Act and the Horse Protection Act, including the inspection reports, the agency not only made it incredibly difficult for those who work tirelessly to ensure that the laws designed to protect animals are enforced, but it also closed the door on consumers' rights to know how animals in puppy mills and zoos and research labs, the Tennessee walking horse shows, and other animal industries are actually being treated. So I'm just one of millions across the country who demand transparency and demand decency from the USDA. We want records restored and made accessible without difficulty, and we want it done now. We want it done immediately, and we won't stand silent, and we won't relent until the White House and the Department of Agriculture do the right thing. So thank you guys so much for having us here today.
Hi, my name is Randy Painter. I'm the founder and CEO of CARE 2. And I stand here today. I'm glad to be here representing nearly 200,000 CARE 2 members and members of the Humane Society who signed a CARE 2 petition asking the USDA to put the records back online. By removing this database, the USDA has effectively supported animal abusers who are seeking to hide from their wrongdoings. CARE 2 members will not stand for this. CARE 2 is the largest social network for good, with more than 40 million members standing together for a kinder, more inclusive and sustainable world. CARE 2 members have stood together against everything from roadside zoos to Barnum & Bailey Circus, and we've won. CARE 2 members have stood together against injustices such as breed-specific legislation, greyhound racing, animal laboratory testing, and puppy mills, and we've won. Some of these wins would not have been possible if it were not for information such as contained on the previous records on the USDA website. So in partnership with Kate and the Humane Society and everybody here today and 40 million CARE 2 members, we ask the USDA do the right thing and put the records back online. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Great job. Questions? Questions, anyone, for our expert panel, our luminaries? We've got lots of information on our website. We can get you Congresswoman McSally's letter of 108 House signers. There was a letter also that went from senators. This information is vital, as Randy said, for everything that we do, because regulated industries are inspected by the USDA. And every one of these industries, if there are chronic violators, they need to be rooted out and they need to be stopped from abusing animals. And these are our tax dollars. These are laws passed by Congress. These are executive agencies funded by Congress. It's just a basic matter of transparency.